useful solution, useful, information. I hope the folks here are having some energy to continue with this. So, guys, I'll jump right on. It's going to be very lightweight and full of information. I'm gonna have just a couple of slides. If you see here, just a couple of 10, maybe 10 slides, no more. And I'll jump right into the demo. I can show you what are the things inside in practical. So now what's going to happen in this session? First question, maybe people ask why DevOps, why it came in at this time, and what are the advantages, what are the benefits of having DevOps. Why it wasn't enforced before in X12 and now it's enforced in Dynamics 365. We're gonna go through these. What is the full picture looks like the journey from first installing first setup of the DevOps until what's the journey from dev to deploy looks like, and why and when to branch. This is a source of confusion of so many people reached out to me. What's the branch? What's the main branch? What's the release branch? What's the dev branch? When should we create a main branch? What should we create a dev branch, and etc. What's the release branch is used for? So this we're going to cover as well, and we're going to go with a demo, like how to map the dev VMs and overview on a little bit of the build definitions, how do they look like, and overview on the release definitions as well. And check-in policies, we're going to see a few policies that will help you organize the work, and you can enforce a few policies to your developers and all that. So we're going to see a little bit of the tasks backlog and the boards, so you can organize and have better visibility at the project management level, maybe for project managers. Unit testing, we're going to see just how DevOps interacts with, how automates or includes unit testing. I'm not going to cover unit testing, how it is done, but I'm going to cover how it is related to DevOps and how it does make a good additional step in the build. And five or a couple of recommendations to take away with you after the demo. And of course, I'm going to open a bit of questions and answers after that. So let's start. Why DevOps? Of course, version controlling is the first thing that you're going to consider. It's the first thing you're going to notice. Like the DevOps has that version controlling and task management. So it enhances the collaboration between developers. Eventually, other also stakeholders, they can see the tasks, or they can log tasks. If, for example, someone is a user, for example, you can give him the access to the system, to the DevOps, and he can log bugs if he sees them. Or other people can, for example, a customer can create tasks, can create dev tasks that you can prioritize, can at least he can help you on the building your task backlog. So also keeps you a safe code backup in the cloud. So whatever versions you are pushing into the cloud, so whatever editions or versions you are pushing to the cloud, it's stored there, and you can go back to that version. For example, if you checked in the first logic of the class, and then you went further and you checked in another version of that class, and it has a lot of modification, maybe that modification became buggy or something, then you want to go back to the previous version. So you can do that in this. Or you can bring at least a useful code that you lost it maybe in the current version, so you can search it in the archives in the versions that you pushed to the DevOps. Of course, you can as part of that. So as I said, you can roll back and roll forward your code, and registers all changes. So register all changes. So it's a good thing that you have an audit, so you can know who did what. So this is very important. So you have a clear review with your developers, and you have a clear auditing system in place. Allows you to branch your code, of course. We'll talk about that as well, how the branching goes, how the branching strategy goes in. Of course, continuous integration. So the DevOps will allow that consolidated solution or code base being stored somewhere, which is centralized somewhere, and it gets built, and it integrates all what developers are doing. So they check in all the code, and it goes into one place, and that place is going and getting it gets built. Of course, you can use triggers to automatically start a build upon a checking, or you can do it as a schedule. It's up to you. It gives you that flexibility. Of course, continuous deployment. Of course, you can also automate deployment. I can, in one click, just a check-in that goes and does the once I check into, for example, a main branch, it goes and does the build and does the deployment to the sandbox automatically. All that you can do using this the CD part of it. So automates the deployment. Now let's dive into the journey of from dev to deploy. Now, if you see here, there are a few environments. So what it starts with setting up the dev VMs. So you have the dev VMs that check in. Of course, I'm just highlighting at the high level. I'm not going through all the steps in details. So first, you're gonna set up the dev VMs. Then you set up also the DevOps. Then all the you do the mapping and all that. So then there will be that check-in and check-out from from DevOps. Here you have to because DevOps is it's a whole picture, but there is that part, that version controlling, is called TFVC. So it's Team Foundation Version Control. So, or version controlling. That part is responsible for that, what you see in version controlling and check-in and check-out. That is the part that is considered. So after that, of course, you're gonna trigger a build request from there, and the build VM will take care of the building. So it's gonna pack all the code. As I said, the centralized code here in DevOps is going to be built in the build VM, and the build VM is the one that you see is the third environment that you see in LCS environment. So normally dev VMs are the local VHDs that you download from LCS. Typically, I'm saying that. So, and the build VM is the third environment that you see in the LCS. That one is meant to be the build VM. It's not meant to be a dev VM unless you want to break the best practices. That's what you can do. And there is a tip or a trick that I can give you later regarding the offline or local build VM that you can create at your local environment, and you can maybe convert this build VM as a dev VM, and we're gonna see this in a moment. Of course, after the build VM has built the code, it constructs the package for you, and it can also upload a deployable package to LCS shared assets. It can automatically do that through the release pipeline, and then of course it can deploy the package to UAT, all that automated. Of course, after that, the manual step that is now as of now is the mark release candidate, which is now a manual step. You have to tick that package as a release candidate. because it's your responsibility, cannot be automated. It's your sole responsibility to say this package can go to live environment. Then, of course, after that, you can deploy that package manually to the prod. So this is the story or the journey. And of course, let's see now here. Of course, I'm just making a bit of information here. Like this is the build pipeline, and this is the release pipeline responsible for doing this. And let's go now inside. Now here, this you see here, this area. I'm going to dive inside this DevOps so you can see how things happen inside this DevOps. So what happens inside DevOps is the version controlling and the branching. So why and when you need to branch? Of course, I'll give you a few concepts. Main branch. You have main branch is the branch that lasts from the beginning of the project till forever. So till maybe LCS, the company decides to drop finance and operations, which we don't have to. So this is the branch that lasts forever. Now there are other branches that will pop in and get branched from this main branch. So your main branch is your root branch. Okay, there is no other root branch. There is only one branch, even if in and this concept is the same in Git or the same in DevOps. It's the same thing. In TFVC, it's the same thing. Then you will branch to a dev branch. So you'll create a dev branch to do few developments. For example, you want to keep the main branch as clean as possible. Then you create a new branch called the dev branch for developers to map their dev VMs to that branch. Okay, and it could be one dev branch and it could be multiple. Depends on your case. For example, you want to give one developer to for example, do one feature, and you want another developer to do another feature, which are separate. They are not related to each other, and all that. So you want to give them that two dev branches that are going to be merged later to the main branch. Of course, so this is the utility of dev branch. So I don't recommend that you link developers to the main branch directly. So you do it through the dev branch. Okay, that's the one of the the most mistakes I see projects. People do. They go straight and because the system populates the main branch by default, and they go straight and start linking all the dev environments to the main branch, and this causes a problem later. Okay, so and this is the role of the dev branch. Then, of course, as I said, you have to link the dev VMs to that. Then there will be a merge of the feature. So once you test it in the dev branch, you are pretty confident that it works as it builds and it is okay. Then you can start merging those change sets to the main branch. So you start merging. Then after you have something to show to the customer, then you stabilize like kind of code freeze. I'm gonna use this maybe the code freeze term so you want to release something. You want to release something to the customer for, let's say, UAT or after UAT. It depends on the strategy. So, for example, you want after you did the merge, after you did the you are confident that at certain level your solution is stable. Then you can create that release branch. So that is the stable version of your code so far. Then you continue on some other merges later and you, of course, you do other, like you add more features to the system. Then you can create another release branch like release 2 and release 3. This is kind of code freezes in the time. Okay. And then there are a couple of like cases that might happen. For example, if there is branch has a slight bug or something, like you can do a hot fix. You can now either link a quick dev VM to the release branch, and you do the hotfix there. Then you take the branch to the fix to the main branch. Or if the main branch maybe didn't change much in that area, you can also link the dev VM into a normal. You branch another dev branch, like created a bug fix. Then you do the fix there. Then you can do the same hierarchy as this one, like the same steps as this one. Like you merge you merge the code, the fix to the main branch. Then from the main branch you create another release that you release it to the customer. Okay, so this is pretty much it. So as I said, you can also continue in that pace. Now there is a slight different scenario in terms of code upgrade. So many people like asking me what happens, what's different from the normal, or they're still confused. What happens what's the difference between a normal branching and a branching that comes from an upgrade? Like when they open VSTS, they see releases, they see the main branch, that they get confused. So what that happening in the background? So after you upload your model store to the upgrade tool, the tool, of course, is already the environment LCS is already mapped to the Devops. So what it does, once it finishes the code upgrade, what it does, it generates two things. So it releases the release branch, and it releases the main branch first. Then it branches a release branch from that. So it kind of gives you a code freeze up ahead. So you get this release branch for that version that you got from the migration, the code upgrade, and then it gives you that main branch for you to start working on it. And also, if you do another upgrade, like the same model store, you did few tweaks in X12, and you did few changes, and you did few things, few rounds, like you maybe simplified a little bit the code so you can have a better upgrade experience. So in that case, also once the upgrade tool finishes the upgrade, it's going to add another release to that, and it's going to merge automatically the changes to your your main branch. Of course, that's what happens. So, and you will have both releases there. I'm going to show it to you in a moment, and you'll have the main branch. So you will have to start the same at that time. You will have to start the same journey. So after you have the main branch, you take in you branch it as a dev branch. Then you link your VMs. Then you start the merging. Then you start fixing your code in dev branch, and you start stabilizing the main branch until you get it. You fix the code conflicts and all that stuff that we are going maybe in next session about code upgrade. Okay. And then, of course, you're going to continue releasing and all that stuff that we have seen in previous. So demo time, I'm going to start with showing you a couple of things in practical. Let me bring this taskbar. All right. Okay, here we are in the dev environment. Okay, so a couple of tips here. What I do, how do I organize my things is that I bring the solution and I do like a project for each feature, which is I found so far useful. And even if there is a shared item or a class, I do it between those features. If, for example, feature 1 and feature 2 having a common class, I can link it to both, so I can update them in both. What makes it, why I'm saying that, why because when you do a check-in, it's very nice to, when you do a right click and you do checking, it checks in all the items within that that feature or within that project. So that that is a helper, like a project helper. It helps you organize a little bit of the code for developers to check in, to have kind of a group check-in that makes sense. Because now what I see, like when you get lost into projects or you do one project that contains all the elements that you are editing, or you're just creating a project just to do some writing because it's, you are forced to, because you're not used to, you know, X12, it was like just open AOT and do editing. Now it's a bit more organized, so get used to it because you're gonna see a lot of benefits. And one of the benefits, when you do organize your code by project, it's going to give you that ability to do a check-in that is meaningful. Because a check-in that is, I mean, a change set that is meaningful, that is all englobes all the elements that you have changed for a particular feature. Okay, and of course I do kind of a project for tests of that feature. For example, if I have this calculator class, so I'll create another class called calculator tests, where I put all the test battery into that. So it's going to it will have that, for example, that coherence between the branch and its, I mean, in the project, and which gives a lot of sense for developers. Even for new ones that comes in, they will immediately understand this is the feature and that this is the tests of this feature. Okay, and let's also go back a step backward, where I can show you how the mapping to the dev VM happens. When you first log into DevOps, you connect to DevOps, and you will have to map this this place. So if you see here, I have the main branch and I have the dev branch here. So how do you start mapping? Go here, better don't go here. It's a bit confusing. I would recommend to go straight to workspace here. It's sometimes it gets hidden because the screen, if the screen is small, you can find in 3 dots here. So open the workspace and go here to workspaces, and you can of course start linking your environment. So this is how I do usually link my environment. So these two are meant to be for dev environment, and this one remains for the main branch. And this, it's not meant for dev people. It's meant for the guy who is doing the code review, and the guy who's meant to take the change sets from the dev branch to the main branch. This guy has to do both the mapping, because he cannot take a change set or merge the dev branch to the main branch unless he maps them both into his VM. So normally the developers will have only access to the dev branch and the project inside the dev branch. And the guy who's taking the change sets from the dev branch to the main branch, maybe a team lead or someone who's responsible for doing that, can map this this branch to his VM and he will start doing the changes. I mean, taking the change sets to the main branch. Okay. So this is the thing. Of course, you can also always check how the branches are put together. So you can see branching and merging here, and you can view the hierarchy. So always you have to see this kind of main got branched from dev. And once you create the branch, once you create a release, of course, also it will have like a same, like a child called release 1, release 2, whatever. Okay. This is how it is done. A couple of things. I'm gonna see my notes here. Okay. I think this is clear to you guys now. I don't know if I need to do a simulation. The time is a little bit shorter now. Okay. Now I'll jump into the build definitions. Let's open here. And now inside the portal, the Devops portal, you can see there is an overview here, gives you a quick overview what's going on your project. Then it gives you also a quick dashboard that you maybe add some widgets into it that I'm going to skip at the moment. You have the board, which I find very useful once you have the tasks in and you start working on, and you will have this board, which gives you a good view as a project manager or as a stakeholder, as well as a customer can see, can have that visibility also to have that view and see what's going on his project. So I do recommend including also your customer into this, so he can see good. He has a good view on the picture. Also, in terms of licensing, you know that you have 5 free licenses to use the DevOps, and the stakeholders are maybe I don't know if it's limited. I don't think it's limited, so it's for free. You can add them as many as you can, so they can watch the things. They don't have access to the all these technical things. Just they have to access to the board, and they can also log maybe bugs or tasks if you give them access to. All right, and of course there'll be a backlog where you put your all your tasks there, and that makes it good thing. So if someone is using, so a developer is working on a task and he wants to do a check-in, so he can go here and do, he can see also his pending work. For example, I have all these tasks pending on me, and once I do a check-in, let's say, I don't know, I added another class, another feature, just as a quick thing. Now I want to check in. I'll go here. For example, I finished this task 1, and I'll go to Team Explorer. I'll go here, the pending changes. Let's say I finish this task, so what I can do, I can link this. Where is it? I'm getting a little bit lost here. So here, queries, action. All right. Oh, sorry. Sometimes like it's a memory hole, but yeah, you can link, of course, the task to the checking, so it says that thing is completed. I'll try to find it quickly, otherwise I'm going to skip it and give it maybe later as a demo. Yeah, I think. Well, there's a. I remember there's a. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna skip it for the moment. But you get the idea. You can link a task to the check-in. So, or a bug, for example, if you have a bug that comes in, that you can also link it to that task. And once you check in for the system, it's gonna show as a finished task, and it links the task with the code that has been checked in. All right. I'm gonna okay, move to check-in policies. For example, here, once you go into the settings here, you can force few policies, like go here into source control, and for example, you can enable multiple checkout with. I don't recommend much, because what I recommend is go with one checkout. Like, for example, someone is using one task and he got that task checked out to him. I don't prefer that someone else goes and works on that same class, because it creates conflicts. So if you want to reduce that conflicting codes here and there, then you have to do the merging and all that headache. You can disable this, and it gives that it gives that separation. So everyone has to wait for the guy to finish working on that task, on that class. Then once he checks in, then it becomes free for another developer. The other one is enable get the latest on the checkout. So whenever you get checkout, you get immediately the latest enabled with it. Imported from the Devops. This is also a good option you need to consider. Also in the check-in policies, you can enforce few policies, like change set comments, for example, which is lots of developers don't stick to putting comments or what they did into their developments or in the check-in. So they end up just check in without any thing that you can enforce here, and you can add it. So you cannot check in without putting a comment into it. All right. Also this work items, it also enforces developers to link the work item or the task that is assigned to them before they do a check-in, which I was trying to find. All right. So these are also two of the very useful policies that you need to add into your DevOps policies. So the other one is the unit testing. As I said, unit testing are here in separate projects, and what's good for them is they are also included in the build automatically. So they are included and they get run in the pipeline automatically. So when we go here in the pipelines, you will have this, for example, this dev pipeline, which is responsible for running multiple steps once it's running a build. So we can go inside and see what are the tasks being run. For example, of course, it checks out the code to the build machine, then it prepares the build, then it increases the version of the package. It builds the solution, then generates the package. Then at the end here, it executes the tests, which is very beneficial. And what you can see in the other here in the plan. So you can see all the runs here. For example, I had one test and it was run and succeeded. So 0 failed, and it runs successfully. So I can also have all those statistics here, how many passed, and what are the methods that are being run into, what are the test results and all that stuff. So you have all the details about the tests being run. The tests are very, very useful. Don't ignore them, guys, because I won't say, I won't go to the extreme that says you have to test each and bit of your system, and I won't go to say ignore all the tests. I'll say go in the middle. What I do personally, as in my experience, what I do, I find a balance, and I do sort of add tests to the critical or core calculations or core logic of my feature, where I see that if this get messed out, I can mess out a lot of things, or it has a huge impact. Those I make sure that I build unit tests to them, so I get them protected. So whenever someone goes and changes a bit in that logic and it breaks those tests, I immediately get triggered, and I can or the team can know that a core logic has been touched, so they can look into, discuss it, and get it resolved. So this is one of the this is the essential benefit of having unit tests part of the DevOps. Okay. Now there are also the release pipeline, which is responsible to, once you have the release ready, then you can take it to you can automate the upload to LCS. There is quite a few setups. I'm gonna go into another project where I did it. It's working, which is this project. So you can see here in the releases, I have one pipeline ready here. So I can go, for example, edit the pipeline and see what's in. Okay, so what it does, this release, it takes the build. So it takes the build from your from the build pipeline, or the dev, or the main branch build pipeline. It takes that result, that package, then it goes and does few things. So it can upload the package into your LCS in the project, the LCS project that you wanted. It goes and deploys there, and also it can also upload, and then it can deploy. So it can deploy also. You can give it what environment to deploy to, and it's going to do it automatically. A small tip here for people want to save a bit of money. You can also add this, what I found on the marketplace. Then you can add this Azure VM switch on and off. So you can do the switch on and off before the, switch on before the build and switch off after release is done. That's a good addition to it. The other addition I am going to show is the local build machine. So as you can see here, this is the dev environment, and I have another local machine here, which is responsible for building this code. So everything is local. Even the build machine is local. I don't need the build machine that is hosted in the cloud to do my build. It's like it's not a mandatory. You can alter from that. And there is an article. Maybe you can search it on the net on the local VM. I'm gonna maybe paste the link later on in the description. All right. I think I made it to the end. Of course, you can see here in the repository, you can see all your branches here, and you can see the branches that are in your repository. I'll go back to Yes, I remember the case of upgrade. So let's go to the case of upgrade. For example, I did an upgrade from X12 to Dynamics 365. So I'm gonna check the repository here. If you see here the system, what it did one main branch and it did one release folder where it is going and pushing all the releases, all the attempts, upgrade attempts into that folder, and at the same time, it is doing the merge from this release, the latest release, the latest upgrade, code upgrade to my main branch automatically. So if you see here, for example, let's go a little bit inside and I don't know, let's find something that didn't exist here into classes. So for example, I have this bunch of classes in the first code upgrade that is done on the 4th, and then the 7th. Let's say here, I'll go here, for example. All right, go to classes. Let's say I have this 2, 3, 4. I have a few classes here, and I have added few classes in AX12. Then I did some code changes in AX12. Then I did another attempt. So it brought me, for example, this code, and this code is part of the new code upgrade. So when I check the main branch, I'll find them all being merged there. So I'll find all my versions here. All right, all the codes being automatically merged. Then I can start my code upgrade, creating a new branch here, the dev branch, and start working on it. All right. I think I made it to the end. I left like 10 minutes. I'm ready to answer your questions, guys. Raz? Hello?
Thank you once again. Just Teams very slow to respond. Thank you for that session. I know you're trying to be as fast as possible. Thanks very much for that. So yes, so look, so that's a really great for people who are not sure about the whole. I know a lot of questions yesterday were asked about branching, and I think I think that's a very important aspect. The fact that you did focus on the branching aspect, because it's not one approach fits all, and so there were many questions yesterday about upgrade projects, about how do you set up the process. So I hope that this session has helped to explain that to the people who are not familiar with obviously with the check-in process and with the, how you mentioned about solution structures and guidelines to reduce unnecessary check-ins and things like that. So in short, that was obviously very good. And what we're looking for, there are questions, as you can see from the chat window. So just picking up the sessions from the chat window, let's see what's the first question that people are asking. So I'm just looking for questions here.
Sorry, Raz, can I ask you a question, please? It's Tunde here. Do you have a recording about this session somewhere? Because I have to go somewhere and come back. Is it possible to have access to where the recordings are?
Tunde, yes. So I don't know if you attended yesterday, but there is a survey that people fill out. But yeah, I'll share that in the chat window later.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry. Does anybody have any questions related to DevOps, please?
Yeah, I have. Sorry, it's Tunde again. I have a question. Really good presentation. You spoke about developers doing some testing on their individual VMs. My question is, how much testing do they have to do? I know they need to test what they change. Maybe there's a change set. They test the change sets. Well, how much testing do they have to do overall? Because we know that once they deploy to the main branch, it goes into a UAT environment. Okay, they don't go into the UAT environment to test. So how much testing do you think they need to do before the deployment happens?
Well, in Dynamics world, we have our consultants, right? So we have the functional consultants also to understand the business. So they are the first. They are. I'll step one step backward. I mean, first thing they have to do unit testing.
Yeah.
This is one level to check the things at the smallest level of the code. Then there are other tools that I didn't highlight, but I don't want to overwhelm the session. There are other tools for acceptance testing. There are other tools they can do for they can do the RSAT for testing. A lot of things now. The Microsoft has like deployed a lot of tools for us to do the testing and to reduce. The goal is to reduce as much as possible tests. Bugs up to the UAT. So when you are in UAT, you have much confidence that your code is somewhat stable, and you also have that first human first human line that will check your code, check your feature, who are your consultants. Then these consultants can say, yes, we can go and deploy the code to release for the customer to see.
Great stuff. So the next question is from Jags, who's asking about, do you merge from dev branch into release branch using the change set and then release to sit, which is UAT?
Well, in this, I don't think that it could not be a relation between dev branch and release branch. Either you do it if you do it manually, it can be done, or I would recommend depends on the case. What I recommend is to have that sequence respected from dev to main to branch, or release branch straight if it's a minor bug fix, or as I said, to respect the dev, then main, then release.
So Jack, just to elaborate on that, the reason is because you don't want to block your patches in case there's an emergency patch you need to release. You want to make sure that you don't block that. So what Jags is saying here is that, merge dev branch into main, then release. So there's a danger behind doing that, Jags. Yeah. So you can do that as long as you're not at the risk of blocking, because if you do release, before you release before you get sign off into UAT, imagine you have to roll back and then you've got to deploy a patch. This is where the challenge lies, Jags. Yeah. So this is where the challenge lies. The challenge lies when you're creating when you're blocking a release because you have to ship something in between. Yep. That's where the problem is all about when it comes to merging and branching. So as long as you can have a strategy in place, then that's fine. Yeah, you can go ahead, and sometimes most of the time you'll get away with it. There are other questions by Okan, who's asking, do you use any test-driven methodology which combines continuous integration on your DevOps process?
Test-driven methodology. I think I'll leave this for maybe agile guys who like to do test-driven development. That is something maybe that people can consider. And what I don't get is the test-driven methodology, which combines continuous integration, which I don't see the link. But I'd say maybe even the continuous integration is another level for you for testing, because it compiles the code up in the cloud. If anything happens, you can also enable what's called a gated check-in. So if the code compiles well, it is checked in. If it doesn't compile, or for any reason it doesn't get checked in, so you can look into it. I don't know if I answered the question, but it seemed to me a bit unclear. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Okan. I think what Okan is trying to get at is related to, for example, when you have dynamics, say CE type development, that you have options for using unit tests, which you just mentioned, but then there's also automated tests. So I'm wondering if he's alluding to frameworks, because obviously we're talking in the context of Azure here, aren't we, Okan? So everything we're talking about is in terms of using Visual Studio, using Azure pipelines for doing a deployment. So I'm guessing what you're alluding to is basically, okay, you've got unit tests, and then when your build pipeline executes and returns your results of passes and fails, how's that's managed? I'm guessing that's what you're alluding to, Ayaz. And if that's the case, then we do have an event, Devops Saturday, which is in 2 weeks, and that will be focused purely on DevOps. So basically, I think the objective of that event will be to address pipelines, test-driven development, or and things like that, which I think will be highly useful to you. There will be a session later on today by Aurelian about the new RSAT test automation framework, which you should attend, and I guess that will answer more of your questions, as Hichem mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So yes, so that's related to that now. So Kakas is asking how to create a light local dev VM without data, just DevTools and a D36 Finops packages. That's what Kakas is asking.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure if this facility has been already released by Microsoft. That they promised us to have that. We can deploy only the tools in our environment. I mean, in our physical laptops or physical environments, and we can do developments there, and we can connect to. We can have that code base, and we can deal with the development straight without having that VM and all that. So I think you need to check to the roadmap and what's been released. And I think it's still not yet ready. They promised it earlier this year, but still going on. So I think you need to check the roadmap. I'm not really updated on what's going on there.
Okay, so I mean, all these questions are really good, and so thanks for those questions. We've come to the end of it, but please keep in contact with Hichem. I know there are many questions there for you, so if you could leave your contact details in the chat window, and obviously feel free to converse. I know it is a working day in Dubai for you. Sundays is the beginning of the week, so I understand you're taking a day out of your working day. So I want to thank you, Hichem, once again for doing your session today, taking time off your working day to deliver the session. So thanks again, Hichem, for that session.
Thank you guys, and see you next time.
Great stuff. Okay, so we will be moving on to the next session. We've hit the hour, so without further ado, what I would like to do is once we've stopped this, just bear with me. We will be inviting, of course, Peter once again. Peter gave his first session yesterday on